everyone. We're here with Ryan and Joe from Distant Dominion, new-ish band, with an album coming out. Ripping, is it Ripping Through Time? That's probably
Yes.
wrong.
Yes.
Good, I didn't fuck it up. Yay, good boy. Um, is it out? Is it October 18th? Is that right?
It's actually September 27th, next Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just had another interview, and I think theirs was October 18th.
Okay.
Right here.
So, are you going to show it?
Well, I've posted it, but yeah.
All right.
Excuse my shaky hands. But yeah, it's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Really happy how it turned out. So
the packaging's killer. So
yeah, the
Yeah.
artwork looks cool as fuck.
yeah, that's Mike Hrubovcak. He's done the Rumpelstiltskin Grinder albums in the past and other bands I've been in. He's done the In the Fire albums I did, and of course he does his own for Azure Remote. But he's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Like I think it takes a special person to do that because I have like no artistic talent. I'm like stick figure and he's waving.
and you could in any medium you could think of too. He's the shit. So
Fuck yeah.
Joe, can you draw at all? Are you okay?
What's that?
Are you okay at drawing things?
I can't draw for shit, man. I'm with Tom. I'm like, stick figure, waving, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I could barely draw the old Pearl Jam dude remember the old Pearl Jam thing on the t-shirts back in the day?
I was just thinking about that. Like
I saw you raise your
like
hands, yeah.
like oh fuck. Yeah, I couldn't do that either. It's like it's funny how that shit happens though, you know?
Yeah.
So what was the catalyst for Distant Dominion starting?
Well, people always kind of say that associate us with starting in the pandemic, and I guess that's kind of true. I think it started with me and Bry. We just wanted to like get together and just jam some songs we knew. And then as we got a couple other members, we started just coming up with original ideas. And then we started branching out. We got Joe, we got Sean. We had this guy, Frank, who's actually on the album, but he's not with us anymore. Phenomenal bass player, but he just was way too busy to keep it going. So we got another really phenomenal bass player, Stephen Dever, who I've known for a long time, to replace him. So we were lucky to do that. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of evolved over the period of, I don't know, I guess, when did it start?
I think you guys started playing like what, like the end of 2020, maybe like November, December, something like that. I know I came in at the end of January of 21.
I mean, it originally started, we were just doing like metal covers and we were calling ourselves Boner Mask. Yeah, so I guess it was totally during the pandemic because we all had to wear these fucking masks, and Frank was like, "Oh, just call them Boner Masks." And so but nothing ever came with that, and then we just turned into Distant Dominion. So
now the second album's got to be Boner Mask.
yes,
that's like a built-in built-in album title there.
Yeah,
BM.
That's fucking hilarious. Boner Mask. I can only imagine the fucking artwork, a bunch of different colored masks like floating through. What the fuck is that?
These masks have boners.
It's got to be like a cosmic theme though.
Yeah.
So
space. Yes.
So yeah. Space boner mask.
Yeah.
Space boner mask. Get your space boner mask to take you to Mars, man.
Just a COVID mask on the moon.
Fuck. What a terrible time in our fucking history.
Oh, I know.
We're not going to get too deep into that shit because fuck that.
No, that's cool.
So how did you guys get hooked up with the German label?
I was already somewhat dealing with this other project I had called In Fire, and it was a label called Satanith, and he kind of sub-released it, that album with Fessner Death. So I got in contact with him, and he said, "Yeah, I'd love to put it out." So he's been awesome. I mean, like he gave us like a bunch of the CDs. He's good at promoting it. You know, really happy with everything he's done so far. So,
Hell yeah.
it's funny though, when we talk, we have to use a translator because he doesn't speak any English and I don't speak any German. And I didn't even know he was using it for like the first, I don't know, 5 months or so I was talking to him.
Right, that's how good it is, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. He's like, I would be lost without this thing. And then he just like sent me a link and I was like, really?
That's fucking wild.
Yeah. Yes.
I just ordered some translator headphones for my wife. So when her and my daughter go to get their fucking nails done, they can hear what kind of shit they're.
Nail techs always talk all kinds of shit.
Dude, that's how I always feel, right? If someone's talking another language, I'm like, what kind of shit are you talking about me?
Oh yeah.
Which is probably more my issue than anyone else's, you know? like fuck. So the latest single, Tsunami,
Solar Flare.
Solar Flare Tsunami. It starts out with kind of like a blackened like intro.
Yeah, totally. I don't know, Joe, you got anything that on?
I think that might have been an idea that I had to just kind of like, let's do something maybe Metallica would do, like, and then have those kind of like snare and muted guitar lead-ins, So yeah, that's just basically how it came together. And Ryan had the one riff already that we break into, and then it just kind of went from there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, the main riff is it's just so simple, but it just like strikes a chord.
It strikes a chord.
It's just so catchy. And like when I first started playing, I was like, wow, this is cool. And I'm like barely doing anything. It just sounds cool.
Sometimes those are the coolest riffs where you're barely doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny because you get the real intricate shit that like, some of those guys make it sound like, oh, it's fucking easy, I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go to do it and you're like, oh, I ain't doing that at fucking all.
Well, there's a couple of things on the album that I was like, dude, there's no way I'm ever getting this. And then then he ended up having to play it on the record too. So
yeah,
that's how that went.
We did that for each other. I think for the most part, like I think Joe played most of the rhythms on, but yeah, there was a couple spots where I was like, all right, I'll do that. but yeah,
I'll help you out, man.
Yeah. But yeah, there's no like ego or anything with it. It's just like, who can do it better? Let's just make it as good as it can be.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a hard thing about being in a band, right? Because like obviously as an artist or a musician, there is a level of ego there. But when you can say, you know what, we're doing this for the greater good, and you take that out of there, that's fucking hard.
It is.
For me, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it can be, but I mean, if you can look past that, then you'll always grow as a musician. So, I mean, when I do things like that, I want it to just sound good. I'll just be like, Joe, you should play this. But that doesn't mean that I don't go home being like, I got to get it as good as Joe can make it sound,
Yeah.
So,
sometimes if we're not playing the same thing exactly the same way, it with the stereo effects of how things are produced in metal records or whatever, it sounds cool that maybe like some things are a little bit different than the other guy,
Yeah.
But then other things need to be super super tight, and then that's where either he'll come in and play something tighter than me, or I'll come in and play something tighter than him, and it just works out that way,
And it also has to do with styles of how, like, if you're playing something really fast and one guy is just kind of like up picking apart when they go change a string, say, and the other person's like kind of sweep economy picking through it, you know, there's just going to be that slight, it could both sound really tight, but when it's with each other and it's two different players, it might, you know, not be as tight that way. So should, yeah.
Sounds, you know, I think sometimes when you get multiple guitar players going, it's nice to have, you know, like that riff in unison. There are other times where it works, where it's just a little bit off.
Yeah, where you want it to kind of be like kind of loose and open sounding.
Yeah, and that's where the rock and roll aspect of it comes into play, you know, like just that kind of looseness and that confidence you have in each other to just play however you can, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want it to be a vibe, man.
Yeah.
Hold on, we're talking about rock and roll? Oh shit. I'm fucking out of here. So you guys, you know, when you started writing, was it like you guys sat in a room and said, okay, let's write, or did someone come up with a riff and say, hey, we got this really fucking cool riff, let's see if we can build on it?
I think it's a lot of times, you know, Ryan will come up with something at home, or I'll come up with something at home. Very little has been done at home, by the way, though. I mean, we do a lot of jamming in the rehearsal room.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way I kind of like it. I like to get together and bang parts out and see what we could do with them. I was never like even with other bands, I was never like a sit home and write a 5-minute song kind of guy.
Yeah.
But that's just the way kind of like our vibe is. You know, we do everything together on the spot, and usually it comes out good.
Yeah. I think generally it usually starts with one idea and then that just kind of vines off to all these different things. And then we usually take it and we'll record it so we don't forget it. But usually we'll just remember it anyway, but it's good to remember the order.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of build on that, just keep chipping away at it. So
I wonder how many bands lost riffs because they were like, man, this thing sounds fucking great, and then didn't like write it or record it. And then a week later, they're like, fuck, I don't remember what that was.
I have a lot of riffs on my phone that like I'll just be sitting down watch like horror movies or something, and I'll be like with my guitar, and I'll just be sitting there and I'll start playing something. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I have my phone right there, so I'll just record it. I won't pause the movie or anything, so there'll just be a movie playing in the background or whatever's going on. I just need it so that I can remember the riff, and I'll listen back. And sometimes it's just funny hearing what's in the background. So
I gotten to start like actually opening my voice recorder and start humming riffs. And I know a lot of friends of mine have been doing that a lot over the years, and I'm just now kind of catching on to it. So I got like maybe like, I don't know, 15 or 20 things, you know, to work out.
That's actually way back in the day. The first album I did with Mike with Azure, he came over to my house with like cassette tapes, and it was like side A and side B, and it was every riff, but it was just him humming on the tape. We're both sitting there listening. Like he didn't hum it for me; he had it pre-recorded, and he was like, "And then this part's going to go with this part." So he had like these different tapes that he was showing. I'm like, "Dude, this is fucking. You have this all worked out in your head." And I would sit there and just try and like decipher it on the guitar. And like he didn't know how to play any instruments, but he knew exactly what he wanted. He'd be like, speed pick this or that note higher, lower. And I was like, okay. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. There used to be a I'm gonna say a band, but that was, I think they released 2 or 3 albums. Now this is 30 fucking years ago, but all of their albums were them going dun, 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 dun. And then the other guy'd be over here playing solos like just
That's pretty funny. I would want to hear that.
Oh, dude, it's fucking hilarious. I wish I had something.
I had something kind of like that one time. I was feeding my cat. I was feeding, shaking the wet food off the spoon into the dish, and I just went like, I was like, yeah, that's cool. I just
come up with the rhythm right there.
Yeah.
So fucking funny. I think when I was a kid, I tried to play drums and we couldn't afford drums. So I went and got all the pots and the pans and
Oh yeah.
set them up in the basement. It was great being poor.
I used to like when I was little, I used to like use boxes, but I would hang like pan pot lids from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like they were symbols. And I used to like yeah. But they'd be swinging too much because they were like on a string and like
Yeah.
5 feet, hanging down 5 feet. But yeah, it was
You hit it, you
the
can't
things
hit it again for 2 minutes. Like,
the things you have to do to try to play music when you don't have anything, so it's crazy.
yeah. So it is definitely amazing the things that will like the things we come up with in our head to make it happen.
Right.
So
Yeah.
do you guys with Rip Through Time, do you guys have a like any goals or thresholds that you want to meet when it gets released?
I think more so we just really want people to like it, and so far with the 3 singles, the buzz has been pretty good. So
Yeah.
so we think people will like the rest of the album too,
Yeah. I guess more show offers.
Yeah, well that too. I definitely want to play out.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of shows, like I Kill Ya is playing again and you guys are playing a show with them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's the one we have booked so far. We're working on some other ones, but yeah, nothing solid right now. But we're looking for November and December to be doing stuff as well, and into next year. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that should be a good show.
Mm-hmm.
Single Bullet Theory, Eyes of the Living.
I think it's the other one, yeah.
Yeah.
If the memory of the flyer in my head serves correctly, I think that's who everyone is.
One
Yeah.
thing I learned, I don't trust that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, the brain's all fucked up. So what got each of you into like playing music initially?
I guess for me, like I had cousins that were a little older than me that got me into metal. And I tried playing drums for a little bit. I was horrible at it, and I got no support from my parents for that either. They finally came in and got me a guitar, and I think pretty instantly I was just kind of glued to it. So, and that was when I was 15, and I just didn't really put it down after that. Just kind of fell in love with it. So that was me.
Me was kind of the same. I remember my dad going to like a flea market and picking up a guitar when I was like 11 or 12, and he's like, check this out. Look what I can do. He wasn't a guitar player really, but his older brother was and had taught him a few chords and stuff when he was a kid. And so I remember not really knowing anything about it. I didn't really remember or know how to hold it, which way to hold it, Is it the high strings up or the low strings up, like whatever. And
Yeah.
and I didn't know that you could get strings. So I figured once the strings were all gone or broken,
to
that
get
you
a new
just go
guitar.
get another guitar or whatever. And so I smashed it, when all the strings broke off. And then I was like, you know, my uncle told me, he's like, you can go to a store and get strings, And I was like, are you serious? Really? Um, so, and then I didn't really have any kind of experience with the guitar until a couple years later when I dove head first into like Led Zeppelin and Rush and stuff like that, and I really wanted to learn how to play just from hearing that stuff, and so I finally worked enough to get a really cheap acoustic guitar, when I was like turning 15, I got it. So, and then I really haven't stopped playing since.
Mhm.
Hell yeah. What guitar players like really blow your mind even today where you're like, I got to learn how he does that?
Well, growing up, it was I'd say more first and most powerfully was Yngwie for me, because it wasn't just that he was really fast and amazing, but it was his tone and just, I guess, his vibrato and just this vibe to it too. It just really struck me. But other than that, it was Andy LaRocque, who is now really my favorite guitar player. Steve Vai, Satriani, Richie Kotzen, Eric Johnson. I was big into lead players back when I was younger.
Just a little bit.
And then as I got older, I started realizing, all right, you got to learn how to do other things as well too, not just playing solo. So, but yeah, that was kind of neat from the beginning anyway. The guitarists that influenced me.
Yeah, those are all fucking phenomenal players too.
Yeah. Now I don't know if there's any that I really take anything from. Like some of these players that they're just so beyond, and I just think it's cool to watch them, but I'm not really interested in learning what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
But definitely one kid is Max Ostro. He's have you heard of him? He's kind of I guess he's 18 now, but he had videos. I think he started putting videos up when he was about 14.
Oh, was that kid with the glasses?
Yeah, the kid
that kid.
Like Mike Judge threw him into existence.
Yeah, totally.
Just like got this curly mullet and these big glasses. And he's just mind-blowing. And it's just like he's like an ocean of knowledge in the guitar. Like he can just do anything. He's like beyond just shred. Like he was playing Yngwie when he was like 14 and just doing it perfect. But it was just like a splash in the bucket. You watch another one of his videos and he'd just be playing a totally different style and just like finger picking. I don't know. It's just crazy. So
yeah, that's crazy stuff.
I would definitely at least recommend just watching his videos for entertainment. And he's just funny looking too.
He's funny looking and he can play guitar.
I think he kind of leans into his look, like he likes it. He's definitely he's got a very dry sense of humor, I think.
Yeah, when you kind of like, not that he's like a bad looking kid, it's just like when you have this kind of look, you have to own it. You know what I mean? Like so.
Well, lately now he's been taken into the he's doing that thing with it. He's waxing his mustache.
Oh, I haven't seen anything recent. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the newest thing I've seen him doing.
Oh shit.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's funny. Does he play in bands or just put up videos?
He just puts up videos as far as I know. But
I mean, by now he's probably doing some session work,
Oh, I'm sure. He's actually kind of a lot like Guthrie Govan, I guess. Know who that is?
Mm-mm.
He's a lot older, but he's just another phenomenal. He's kind of like a jazz fusion player.
Gotcha.
But he can shred, like anything.
Shredders, but he's like a younger Guthrie Govan, I would say.
Okay. Couple of players I need to go check out now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Max Ostro. Definitely worth checking out.
Hell yeah.
Another one I think is that kid or those kids from Polyphia. I don't like their music at all, but I got to see them at Hellfest because I played there a couple of months ago with another band, and I got to see them, and they're just mind-blowing to just watch. But it's not really my style of music, but they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
So,
I think there are a lot of bands out there that I don't really like the music, but I appreciate the musicianship behind it.
Mm-hmm. Same here with me for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Joe, what about you?
Well, it all started really with Page and Lifeson. Then I started branching out into the more proggy stuff, like Yes and Genesis, and so I got to be a really big fan of Steve Howe and Steve Hackett, and you know, um, didn't really incorporate any kind of the metal into my influence until I don't know, maybe age 16, 17. I started really getting into like Megadeth and Slayer and of course Metallica and stuff. Not that I hadn't heard of it, just like my skill level kind of jumped up so I can be able to handle playing some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And when I can understand it better, it just, made more sense to me, and I could start playing along with it. And not the solos. I could never play any of the solo stuff, but the rhythmic rhythms I could always, kind of like I got an ear for it, like and I could always jam along with it. So I always kind of gravitated more towards the rhythm players than the lead players. Um, you know, and I really wish I would have did it the other way, because I feel like I'm way behind in playing and technique and stuff. But I don't know.
But I feel the opposite of that. It's like I just wanted to just learn all these cool solos, and then somebody's just like, dude, just play this riff, and I'm like, yeah, all right. Wait, I can't. That sucks. So
And this is where the team comes together,
Yeah.
like
That's how we help each other out.
that's it.
yeah,
I think you need that though, right? You need players that each have a different skill set
Sure.
to come together, and that's when like the music fires on all cylinders, as they say.
Well, I'll totally admit I'm definitely a better player since I started jamming with him, so.
I would say the same thing. Now, especially, I would say I think my picking got a lot better. It's still not always great, but it definitely got better since I joined. Just like watching the way he plays and just trying to get that down, and just realizing how much I just over move my arm when I don't even realize it. So, yeah, I think we both become better players. So,
Yeah, and you don't. I think a lot of times when you're playing, you don't think about the actual technique until you're with someone else and you're seeing them play, and you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Like how the fuck am I gonna do that?
Yeah.
But then you just work on it, and then all of a sudden, it's like it clicks, when then you finally get it.
Yeah, not for me. It never fucking clicks.
Do you play anything?
Yeah. Yeah, I've played a lot of instruments over the years. I started with piano and went into clarinet and violin, and
Okay.
then Buddy taught me how to play drums, and then I taught myself how to play guitar and bass when I was, I don't know, probably like 18, 19.
Okay.
And I haven't played God, I really haven't played in probably like 15 years.
Oh wow.
My when I left my ex, she got rid of all my equipment, and I was like, cool, I don't even want to fuck with it. Like, it's too much money.
Man. Yeah,
Um,
totally.
that was
yeah,
heartbreaking.
Do you still know how to read music?
Oh, I never could read.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
yeah, like I could probably read when I was young, but when I started playing guitar and bass and what have you, it was all by ear.
Gotcha.
Fuck, it was terrible. I wish I would have like really stuck with reading music and learned it. And
I wish I would have kept taking lessons. That was the one thing for me. Like, I mean, I have like accumulated maybe like 6 months of lessons in my 35 years of playing. Like
really?
and one of well, I could say 6 months, and then my senior year I had an empty slot for a class, so I took a guitar class, and
Hmm.
so that was like a easy 5 credits, because it was basic, like really rudimentary reading. I mean, it was basically like the Mel Bay book, the volume 1 or whatever. So, like you're playing like Kumbaya and Michael rowed the boat ashore, stuff like that, with a bunch of freshmen that don't know how to do anything yet.
I never really learned how to read music. I really never had any reason to in the 30 years I've been playing. It's never been a thing that I've needed to use for anything, you know?
Yeah.
Just listen to it, figure it out by ear or tabs before your ear really gets developed like that. I think tab is fine. I mean, even you could, above the tab, they at least have it like a rhythm to it. So it's all written out. So you can at least see, oh, this is supposed to be in triplets.
Mm-hmm.
And then just you find the frets and hear the note and, you know, trust your ear to put it in the right rhythmic phrasing. That's always just been enough for me.
Yeah, I think I was always of the mind that if you were taught too much, then it goes from being like what I'll say rock and roll, you know, it goes into you think too much about it. You don't play
Mhm.
what you feel, you know?
Yeah, I always said that about my other band too, like because we basically grew up playing together. We learned how to play together pretty much, you know, when I joined this band. So I always felt like he always wanted to always add new techniques and stuff like that in, or like, you know, learn some theory, which theory's good to have in, you know, in your tool belt. But I always thought that if you knew too much, it would hinder the feel. It would hinder the basic kind of like freshness of an idea.
Yeah.
If it's, you know, if you're like, oh, I can't play that because you know, it's going to sound like this, or, you know, that's out the window for me. Like, you know, I don't follow any kind of musical structuring. If it sounds good to my ear, then that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's the way it should be, right? Because I think that's when the songs really come out as genuine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you think about it too much, then it's like, oh, that song was calculated like to a T,
Sure.
you know? And I mean,
And
that's
in some ways it's cool to do parts of a song like that. Maybe like, you know, hey, we should maybe switch this to like, instead of playing 4/4, we play like 12/6, or, you know, what, I don't know, whatever the signature might be, you know, that you
yeah.
might think might sound cool. And then, you know, I mean, you know, obviously when you're talking about harmonies and stuff, I mean, some things are, you know, are obviously sound better than others. Um,
Right.
but
I
as far as like, you know, actually needing to learn how to, or knowing how to read music is helpful to do what we do. It's not really, doesn't really need to be that
definitely
way.
not reading music, but I think theory does help if it's just like you want to understand how to achieve, like, why does it sound like this? Like, you hear something and it has a certain sound, a certain vibe to the sound.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times that could be in a mode, like it sounds kind of dark. It might be like something like Phrygian, um, or Locrian.
Mm-hmm.
There's at least to get like an understanding of what you are hearing, so you can make something like that if you want to. But yeah, it's if you become like obsessed with it, then I would say, yeah, your playing is going to get very boring, especially if you're just doing the same kinds of things all the time, just staying in that box.
Yeah, and you just become a slave to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One trick pony. Here I
Yeah,
am.
for sure.
You know, that sucks. So run me through your guys' gear.
Well, I got a EVH head a couple years ago, 5150 head, a Mesa cab. It's probably the best and most diverse sounding amp I've ever used, I would
Oh
say.
yeah.
Um, Joe has had how many heads have you had since?
Let's see. When I joined the band, I brought an Ignator Tour Master.
Yeah, Ignator. I couldn't think of it. Dude, that
Um,
sounds great.
I
But
recorded the album with that one, but then I'm always like, I don't know. I don't consider myself like a gearhead, but like I'm always looking for something. Um, I guess some people would call that tone chasing. Um,
Yep.
so so since then I bought a dual rectifier, which I had actually before I joined Distant Dominion. Which I don't have anymore. I traded it for an Angle Richie Blackmore signature amp. And then I recently just got a Boogie Mark V, which I'm very excited to use in the studio.
Have you been playing around with that Mark V?
Yeah, I've had it for a couple months now, so it's been at the jam spot. So the last, I don't know, however many practices we've had, I've been using that solely. So
Hell yeah. So I
yeah.
guess you're pleased with it so far.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it didn't take much to dial it in either. It was pretty much right out of the gate. It's a used one. I didn't buy it new, so it was already well broken in. I don't think it was retubed before it was sold. So I don't know. It sounds good to me so far. So yeah, like I said, I'm really looking forward to recording with it.
Hell yeah. So what was the recording process for Rip Through Time like?
um, incremental, I guess, would be the. How many times do you think we were back there?
I think we did like 7 or 8 weekends.
Mm, yeah, Bry laid down his drums really fast, and Bry's drums were done in 2 days. And then we just we were just doing it in stages with the guitars, the rhythm guitars, and the leads, and the bass, and then last the vocals. So yeah, I guess it was probably about 7 or 8 times that we
Yeah,
scheduled.
we definitely had 2 mixing weekends, and I mean they might not have gone both days. It might have just been like a one day and then a couple hours the next day. But the one mixing weekend took both days, and
Mhm.
then bass took a day and a half.
Yeah, and that
Uh,
like to give him all the credit he deserves. He was like that guy works probably, I don't know, like 90 hours a week, and he was still coming when he could, showing
mhm.
up, learning, like not only learning the riffs but coming up with his own, and just these really cool ideas. And a lot of times he would do just crazy things off the cuff. Um, so he was kind of somewhat also learning and relearning a lot of his parts in the studio.
Mhm.
And he went through all the songs and just get the best take and just throw some little cool shit in there that was just like off the cuff. And there's just so much of that in the album. It's I think it's really and and the bass is also mixed very loud on the album too. And it's great because he's a killer player, and it's good that we can hear all that he did. So
Totally opposite of And Justice for All.
We've talked about that.
all, all justice for Frank.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Oh fuck. God.
yeah,
That album has come up like 3 times today. And
Mhm.
Justice. Just I don't know, weird.
It's
it's
it's it's probably my favorite one. Um, it's definitely the one I listen to the most because of that guitar sound is just, I mean,
yeah,
you can't beat it for that time period.
Right.
And you know, I mean the bass is there. It's just, covered up by 6 layers of guitars, you
By
know.
everything.
I just think it's funny hearing the way I've heard the story is just Lars just basically standing over the board saying, "Turn the bass down until you can almost not hear it at all." And then he's like, and I turned around and I looked at James, and James is just like, what, you
Well,
know?
the one thing I heard from like the one, I forget who the guy was that mixed it. Um, they would do him and James, and I guess if Jason was around that during the days, would have their own mixes and however they wanted it to sound, and then Lars would come in at night and change everything, like everything, and
That
make it
sounds about right.
yeah. So
He also said that he had this really, this is the engineer talking. He said he had this great sounding drum sound. And then Lars is just like, no, I want it to sound like this. And, obviously, he was biased, thinking his sounded way better. But it was Lars making the shots. So
Yep.
I don't know. I think it is a great album. And I think there's a lot of cool things that I don't think were intentional by Lars
Yeah.
that just make it cooler. Like in Blackened, like after the solo, and he comes in with a rock beat for the main riff, but you think it's like the guitar riff is changing, like the phrasing is falling on the backbeat or something. It's not. Plays the same thing all the way through. It's Lars fucking up. He puts too many tom hits in the beginning, and then he catches up and does a short fill, and that's when it switches to like being off the beat to on the beat. It's just Lars.
mm-hmm.
It's Lars being
Yes.
Lars.
Totally weird. Yeah.
And I'm sure that was not intentional. He's not like, what if I just put one extra tom in? No, it was just a fucking mistake, and they were like, leave it in there. Sounds great.
Yeah. That album for them was like, obviously it's so dark coming out of the, dealing with all the losing Cliff and all that. So
Yeah.
like the theme, the theme of the album is fucking heavy.
Yeah.
I think that's why I like it so much, is because I always kind of fall more towards like the dark sounding stuff of a band, Not that all their stuff sounds happy to me, just
Right.
But it's just the overtones of having that cliff shadow over their heads, and everything else, and then just just the way it sounds just kind of like made me gravitate towards it even more.
Yeah. Justice is definitely, like, out of all their albums, it is the darkest album that they
Mm-hmm.
that they've put out. I gravitate towards that one, and I'm always interested in little stupid tidbits that most people don't care about, but like
Mm-hmm.
To Live Is to Die, that spoken word thing in there. I think that was the last thing that Cliff wrote that, or maybe he wrote the riff and he was playing with that or something, but that was like the last song that he is ever really a part of.
I think there's a riff or two of his in that.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the how the intro is backwards and it swells in?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard it the normal way? Like, I think that's also a last minute decision that was just totally 1000% made it so much darker and better. That
like the opening melody to Blackened.
Yes, it's backwards.
Yeah.
But there's something I watched on YouTube where it was playing it forward, and you're like, yeah, that's kind of cool. And then as soon as it goes backwards, you're like, dude, so much better. And I just always imagine them standing in the mixing room going, what if we just did this? And then listening back to it for the first time and just going, yes, that's it.
That might have been the engineer's idea to try to do that.
Yeah, could have.
And it worked.
Yeah, a good engineer, a good producer, they find those little things that'll tweak the fucking sound of the
Mm-hmm.
song or the feeling of the intro of the album.
Yeah.
And it's obviously they're in those positions with those bands for a reason, but those are always really fucking cool. I always liked when you're looking at some of the old fucking tape, and they're like have to go in there and splice it and do all that shit.
Oh.
There's got to be, like, because I you always hear stories about that album being like edited to hell, right? So especially like the drum tracks.
Yeah.
So they must have used three or four spools of like Scotch tape, to tape those takes together.
So
that's why, like, when they did these, when they reissued these albums like over the last, I guess, whatever, 6 to 8 years. They couldn't do a remaster of A Justice for All
Justice.
because the tapes were so bad. You know, the Scotch tape holding the takes together was basically disintegrated. And so like when you take old tapes, you can bake them and then digitize the information off of them.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't do that with this record. So yeah, it's basically it's just, you know, they might have a little bit of a remix, but not a remaster. It's not remastered like the
Wow.
other ones were.
Damn, that's crazy. Like I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Those little fun facts. So what physical copies do you guys have coming out with the new album?
Just the CD for now.
Yeah.
Plans in the future to do vinyl?
We would love it
I mean, yeah,
if that could happen.
yeah. It's just you know, well, it's still a little baby band. We gotta work up to those heights.
Ah,
Baby band.
that's
But I mean, with the tape boom, I'm sure somebody will be willing to put tapes out.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think tapes. I mean, whatever. Like, I would love to have vinyl. I don't really care about tapes, but you know, I guess it's a thing.
Mhm.
Look into it.
it
Yeah,
is.
for sure.
Tapes are definitely a thing right now.
Oh yeah.
I think it's really silly. The moment CDs came out, I'm like, this is clearly better. This is why would you ever go back?
Well, yeah, you'd like sit there with your pencil trying to rewind the damn
Mhm.
thing.
And the artwork's small, and like there's no benefit to it. I mean, at least a record is fucking cool as shit because you get all the artwork. You know, it takes up less space. And, you know, it sounds good. Tapes, yeah,
You don't need your glasses to read all the fucking liner notes.
Right.
yeah. Tapes, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever collect tapes again. Actually, I got rid of a lot of my tapes over the last few years.
I don't even have to know all my tapes. I guess I got them probably in a bin somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got, I don't know, I've probably got 100 or so tapes in the garage somewhere.
Yeah.
It's probably about the same with CDs, but I'm at like thousands with vinyl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was over at Hellfest. I think I spent about $700 on vinyl. And then I ended up having to pay more for my luggies to check luggies. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, we did that in Hawaii, not with vinyl, but like we went to Hawaii and there was fucking, I bought a shit ton of coffee and it was so heavy I had to buy another bag and check another bag just a coffee.
Wow.
What did you go and buy like a bunch of different brands or like one
Yeah.
brand but different styles?
No, a bunch of different brands.
Oh, okay, cool.
Everything I got I liked, and so it was like there was one that I liked a lot, so I bought like, I think I bought like 8 pounds of that one.
Mhm.
But you know, you get into, I mean, what did I have? I literally had one like small suitcase full of just coffee.
Oh, okay. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. Now I don't even drink caffeine, so I'm like,
Like I still have like 2 pounds left.
oh no, all that coffee
Oh,
was
sure you-
gone in
yeah,
like
that's true,
6
drink.
months.
Damn.
I was like, I'm having fucking coffee. I can't sleep. I don't know why. What's going on here? It's so fucking stupid. Okay. Ryan, Joe, I greatly appreciate you guys taking time out of your night to come and chat with me about Distant Dominion and Ripped Through Time. I look forward to the release. I hope that it does really well for you guys. And
And
man,
thanks for having us. So
Yeah, Tom, thanks for having us on, man. Appreciate it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Now we just got to get you guys like on tour and get you down here to Louisville.
That'd be great.
yeah.
Get some shows down there and stuff. Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. We'll go and have a great night.
You
All
too,
right.
Tom. Take care, man.
Thanks. See
All
ya.
right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.